Hey everyone. Before we really get started with this episode, first off, yes, the name changed just in case you've seen any past episodes of this podcast. Figured I'd just address it. I do address it later. This is kind of editing fruity here. Now, while I was making this episode, essentially Marvel came out with a bunch of news, like later after I was done filming. And it's all a bunch of movie news for the MCU with some big news. Probably the biggest being that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doctor Doom, who's more than likely going to be a variation or a variant of Tony Stark. We'll just have to see. I will cover that separately. That'll probably be its own separate video where I go more in depth and just give my initial reactions to the announcements, because we also get announcements for Captain America Brave New World, for Thunderbolts, for Fantastic Four, just a bunch of Marvel movie news. Uh, so yeah, I'll talk about all of that in a separate video because this video is already pretty long, and I'd rather just kind of save it for its own thing. It will be like, a little bonus video, bonus treat. We'll see. But yeah, I will probably be recording that some other time, and then it'll come probably like on Wednesday, middle of the week, shit like that, just in case we get any more information that I will add on. But yeah, I won't be talking about this. I won't be talking about all this news in this episode. It's more than likely going to be its own separate thing. So yeah, just want to put that out there before we get started, because I know that was the big news of the week. But yeah, thank you and enjoy the video. Okay. Welcome everyone to the latest episode of the Fruity Cast. Nay, I'm changing the name. I'm not that big of a fan of Fruity Cast. It was honestly just a placeholder name for the time being until I came up with a better one. And I honestly kind of forgot to think of other names for a while. That's why there has been not a lot of videos, but how many episodes have we done of the Fruity Cast at this point? Let me just check. I think it's 10 maybe at this point. I have no idea. Maybe that's a 7. We're getting up there. We're getting to 10. But we've been doing 7 episodes of it. It's almost 2 months worth because I had to skip some months. But for the most, not months, weeks. But for the most part, we have just been using a Fruity Cast name. I haven't been thinking of some of them, but I have thought of a new one. And you probably already know what it is if you're watching this on YouTube, which is now the fruit basket. Just because that's what this podcast is. It's just a bunch of little things thrown in there. We got comic books, we got anime, we got superheroes stuff in general, we got video games, we got wrestling, we got it all. But today, we do actually have a bit of all of it, but we mostly have comic stuff, and that's because Comic-Con has been going on. A lot more focus on comics, I feel like, than there has been in the last few years when it comes to Comic-Con. But it's still ongoing, so there's still a lot of big news that could come out in terms of Marvel movie news, DC movie news. We already got a trailer for the Creature Commandos show. We got a trailer for Joker 2, but I'm not sure if that was something they introduced at Comic-Con, or it was just they just released it leading up to Comic-Con. But Marvel has teased that they're going to show something maybe from Fantastic Four. We'll have to see about that. There was a drone show or something that teased that. It was pretty cool. We do have some other stuff to cover, but there has been, updates to DC and their comic books with the Absolute brand that they're going with, which is basically their Marvel universe. Marvel's announced some new books. We got SAG AFTRA going on strike against the video game industry, and we have some wrestling drama, kind of, in pro wrestling. I mean, we might as well, start there in terms of, well, speaking of things I don't really talk that much about, usually I try to start the show with stuff that I've been viewing and watching, reading lately. I just got started with Chainsaw Man. I have never seen all of Chainsaw Man, well, at least the first season. I am planning on to now. I'm taking a little bit of a break from The Boys. I'm also reading Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I've already read that book. If honestly, if anything, I probably should have picked something new to read. But it's been a while since I read it, and I want to go back and read it because it's just such a great book. But yeah, that's really about it in terms of stuff that I've been watching, reading. I did also finish My Adventures of Superman Season 2. And that kind of leads us into our current topic, because while I don't plan on talking it a bunch, there has been some news with My Adventures with Superman Season 3. There's been some images floated about. It seems like we're going to get Lex Luthor with bald hair and maybe Cyborg Superman. We'll have to see. We also have a look at Superboy, which I'm happy about. I love Superboy. I have heard some people speculating that he might, instead of being a clone of Superman, is going to be Superman and Lois's son from the future, which I'm perfectly fine with, I'll be honest. He would kind of be like the Trunks of the group, which would be fun. But yeah, in terms of news that we have seen out of San Diego Comic-Con, let's start with some absolute DC news, and the first news we have is not based on the Absolute Universe itself, but it is a title that's going to come out of this new initiative called Justice League Unlimited. Now, this book will be written by Mark Waid and drawn by Dan Mora, so it seems like that's where they're going to go following. It seems like that's where Dan Mora is going to go, since he is not going to be on Superman and Batman World's Finest anymore. It seems like this is going to be like a kind of revolving door when it comes to roster members, with maybe some core members staying on, because we have a quote from Mark Waid here. Mark Waid was asked by the crowd. Waid asked the crowd on who their favorite DC superhero is, and he responded to everyone with, "They are on the team. Big missions, big stories, small stories, and the Watchtower is basically home to every superhero on Earth." So yeah, we actually got like a look at the Watchtower. It looks pretty fucking cool. I really like the design. It looks a little bit more like the Watchtower from the Justice League Unlimited animated show, which, obviously not bad. I think that's meant to be a reference there. We've also seen, some of the rooms here in terms of, the reference. There's this thing called Robin's Nest, which looks to be more of like a, Teen Titans maybe. Little like little headquarters there. I think this is the security officers quarters. So there seems to be a staff on the Watchtower, kind of like the show. There's also the Golden Quarters, which seems to be a JSA headquarters. The Quarters of Solitude, docking stations, boom tube, phantom zone, and engine core. So they really are planning this all out. I really like this whole idea of like an interchanging Justice League Unlimited roster. We also have some confirmed members, at least more than likely, who are going to take place in the first arc. We have the lineup's going to be Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, who we now are aware is going to be Wally West, Flash, Captain Atom, Black Lightning, Star Sapphire, and Martian Manhunter. Also, the Atom's going to be in it because some people didn't notice because he's just so small you couldn't notice him. But yeah, that looks to be the team for now, or at least in the first story. Again, it could be ever changing. The fact that he said like all of your favorite superheroes are going to be on it makes me believe that they're just going to interchange based on who Mark Waid wants to write about. And I think he is going to give everyone their due. If you have read Superman and Batman World's Finest, you know that Mark Waid likes to use a lot of DC characters, so we'll just have to see. But yeah, I really like this whole idea right here. I think it will like help. The problem with the like Justice League titles is that sometimes you can just tell like the writers aren't interested in some of the characters being there, or they just don't know how to juggle them. But by doing this, by making it interchanging, it allows you to tell whatever kind of story you want to tell with the characters that you want to use. But obviously, we'll just have to see where this goes. I think this is a great team, and I am excited for this. And it's going to be the first Justice League book in a long while in terms of, Well, at least like 5 years. But, I feel like that's a pretty long time comic book wise. Like, that's 5 years with no Justice League title at all. But moving on, we have some Absolute DC news, starting off with Absolute Batman. And this is from a panel that was all about this. This is also where the Justice League news came in. But here we have our first look at the man under the mask. Obviously very different. So this is going to be our Bruce. He's going to be built. Apparently he is in his 20s. He's 6'6", 250 pounds and is a city engineer. That kind of feels like he's almost kind of merging, at least with like the city engineer part. It's like he really I don't know, it's very similar to his Bluebird character, who was also a city engineer. She was not yoked, but she was like a city engineer. I don't know, maybe he just really likes city engineers, I'm not sure. But yeah, he is built. I'm not sure if 250 pounds for 6'6" would look like this, as like this commentator points out. Like, he is built. But, we'll just have to see. To me, what's really weird is like his hair. Like, that's what really throws me off. I was expecting them to at least go black hair, but no. We also have our first look at Alfred here. Very much playing into like Alfred's past as kind of a soldier, but instead they're making him more like an agent. And we also have Black Mask, who I'm not sure how I feel about his design with like the big circle, like the big orb that's on his head. But like, I don't hate it. I honestly think it's pretty fucking good. It wouldn't be like my go-to for like a reimagined Black Mask, but it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I'm excited for Absolute Batman. I've told one of my friends, I was just like, this feels like they're really going for like that canceled Darren Aronofsky Batman Year One, and like just kind of reshopping it, where like Batman was gonna be under the care of this guy named Big Al, who was like a mechanic. And while we're not getting exactly that, it feels like an interpretation of that. Like, Alfred doesn't feel like the butler, He's not exactly, someone who's gonna pamper to Bruce or take hold him under his wing a bit. And this is gonna be a Bruce who is more like, just, more than likely lived in the city, if anything. But we'll just have to see about that. We also have some Superman news. Jason Aaron talked on his Absolute Superman book. He said this book is about looking at the original concepts of Superman and asking what he'd be like if he was created today. He said anything can change, and the only thing he will commit to is that Krypton explodes. He said this universe is about them being all alone and not throwing Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman together immediately. Things didn't work out the way they were supposed to work out, and that's left Absolute Superman a little bit isolated, a little bit angry, and kinda sexy. Which I found hilarious. Just being like, he's very angry, but also kind of sexy. I really like his design too. I like that the like cape is kind of like, it seems more like energy that's kind of coming off his costume. Same with like his, not the gloves, the more like wrist sections of his suit and the boots. It makes the Superman feel a lot more alien, which was apparently what they were trying to go for. Then we have our first look at Absolute Flash. No details were apparently given from what I could see. It looks like this one is going to be more focused on Wally West. You can kind of see someone's face here. Maybe like it's going to be like the Speed Force possesses him. I'm not sure. But it's going to be by Jeff Lemire and Nick Robles. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Jeff Lemire is great, so I'm sure he will do a great job with the story. But yeah, this is all we kind of seen so far. Same with this Green Lantern book that we're going to get to. I think this is more or less going to follow the new Green Lantern. I forget what her last name is, but it's Joe. And Al Ewing is going to be writing it. I really love this design. They don't say who the artist is. I think they don't. Doesn't seem so. But yeah, I think they've also said that Hal's going to be in it and maybe John. But we'll just have to find out. I just really like her design. I really like the glowing aspect. I wonder if this is going to mean that this is her Green Lantern costume, but we'll have to see. And obviously we have Wonder Woman. Also, we have this right here. They showed the cover for Absolute Superman #2, and it's an army of peacemakers. This has me believe that maybe, more than likely, this is going to be a Superman who landed on Earth when he was already, like, pretty grown. And I do like this idea of just, like, an army of peacemakers. But yeah, we'll just have to see where this goes. Again, I think this comes out, I believe, like, they start coming out in October, so we'll have to wait a couple months. But so far, I've been liking all these titles, at least the looks of them. And of course, we have Absolute Wonder Woman. Diana is the last Amazon and the world's first superhero. She's not just a warrior, she's also a witch. She was raised in hell. She rides a giant black metal skeleton winged horse. She's armed to the teeth that we haven't seen before. Hayden Sherman says he's honored to draw Wonder Woman alongside Daniel Shampier, who's doing the main book. And this just looks badass. Like, they're obviously going to play more into, like, a kind of just, Wonder Woman as a warrior. I really like the tattoo on her arm. That's pretty cool. I feel like that would be like a bitch to draw for anyone, for most artists, because you would have to maybe the colorist, because there's not exactly any like black lines. You would have to really draw into it. But I feel like that would just be a bitch to draw. But like her with this like big sword. I'm not that much of a fan of making Wonder Woman like this warrior type character in the main universe, but doing it elsewhere is pretty cool. I like her costume. But yeah, we'll just have to see where this goes. But yeah, that's all we really have in terms of absolute DC news. They made that video like last week, and like build up to this also because a lot of stuff was getting leaked. So I feel like, just seeing all this stuff here, I think it was a lot more than I really even expected, or I feel like some people really expected in terms of news. I did not even think we were gonna get Absolute Green Lantern. I was like, maybe we'll get like one more character, but I did not expect them to like have two ready to go. But even then, we still don't know a bunch when it comes to the other two, so we'll just have to wait and find out. But in terms of other DC news, we also have an official look for the new DC Studios logo, and this seems to be what like the Marvel Studios logo, or like the old DC Films logo, like the title card that would appear for movies, is gonna be. Some people, well, we'll get into it, but they changed their logo for DC Studios. It also seems like DC has also reverted back to one of their older logos, like right here. So this is the logo for DC and DC Studios going forward. The DC Studios logo is just going to be the same logo, just with Studios under it. So yeah, I like it. It's a harkening back to an older DC logo from back in the day. Obviously a period in time where I feel like James Gunn really liked DC, because, with the obvious influence of like JLI, with like the, Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific in Superman Legacy, I think that really plays into it, with Maxwell Lord being a factor. But we'll just have to see it. But this is going to be like the new title card before movies now, it seems. So it's like old school Superman, snaps the chains, goes to this. Now I really like that. Some people are speculating, or at least hopeful, that what this leads to is that for every single project, the character changes, so it's not just Superman that shows up. Like if it's a Batman project, it'll be like a Golden Age version of Batman. If it's Wonder Woman, it will be Wonder Woman, Blue Beetle, or something like that, like an older version of Blue Beetle. But we'll just have to see. I do really like it, and I feel like if they changed it up every time, it would be great. But even if they don't, I still think it's a really good title card nonetheless. But speaking of DC Studios projects, we also have the trailer for Creature Commandos, which we're not going to go over. There have also been other trailers for like Joker 2, Marvel Rivals also got a trailer, even though that's, something different with video games. Transformers 1 also got a trailer too. We're not going to really talk about these as much. I just wanted to kind of show this one. I just really like the art style. It seems to be more of like an anime type art style in a way. It seems to be pretty. It seems to be pretty accurate to that one image that came out about the show that revealed the lineup. I really like it. It's basically gonna be like, oh, it's the Suicide Squad, but it's for like more like, you know, magical monster type elements. We get our first look at Rick Flag Sr. He'll be played by Frank Grillo, who will be in Superman Legacy and I think Peacemaker 2, Peacemaker Season 2. And I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, in terms of the Joker 2 trailer, there's nothing really special. We just get a little bit more of Harley Quinn in it. For Marvel Rivals, it looks pretty cool. It seems like Doctor Doom is going to be the big bad in it. I don't know how they're going to do that since it's just like an Overwatch game. But we'll see. Maybe they'll do like story missions where you can team up with your friends. But we'll see about that. And with Transformers 1, it actually gets me a lot more excited for the Transformers 1 movie. Because it seems like they're actually playing into like... With this trailer, it seems like, no, the more, like, the heavy focus of the movie is going to be, I forget what his name is in the movie before he turns into Megatron, but, like, the guy before Megatron becoming Megatron and him and Optimus starting their rivalry, that seems to be more of the focus. The trailer before that, like, the very first one, I thought it was just going to be, like, oh, they're fighting some, like, insect robots. I wasn't really sure what it was going to be, but I got a lot more excited about the movie after like the newest trailer. In terms of other news though, moving forward, let's see. We got some new Marvel titles that have been announced. We got a new West Coast Avengers book that's going to be coming out. It seems like, so the little synopsis here, Iron Man and War Machine are assembling a new team of Avengers, one that includes villains seeking redemption, their first case study, Ultron. So this will also include, I believe it's Firestar and Spider-Woman. Right off the bat, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this. I'm not sure, like, I don't really care enough to, like, watch this, to, like, read this. I don't care enough about Ultron getting redempted. I don't really care all that much about it. It is written by Jerry Duggan, who I do like. I think he's a good writer. But we'll just have to see if it, if people really pop off about this, I'll probably start reading it. I think there's just, with Ultron being in it, with War Machine and Iron Man, I'm not too big on the fact that there's like three big tech characters. It feels redundant. I don't know. We'll just have to see. I feel like if they wanted to do like, oh, a villain seeking redemption's team, they should just do Thunderbolts. Because that's like what Thunderbolts is. Also, there's no Thunderbolts book around now, so you could just do that. But we'll see about this. Anyways, there's gonna be like a new one shot that's gonna come out with the Ultimate Universe. Ultimate Universe 1 year in. And it's basically going to kind of lay out the groundwork for like the next year of the Ultimate Marvel Universe. On the cover here is basically like the evil council that the maker made. But yeah, I've been enjoying the Ultimate book so far. It kind of dropped off a bit, but not because of like, it's not because I think they're dipping in quality. It's just like, I just haven't been reading them. That's just really it, but I will try to get back into them. I have liked what the Ultimate Universe is doing so far, even though I didn't really read the stuff leading up to it, so I'm a bit lost. But I still think it's good fun. I think the only book I wasn't exactly loving was Ultimates because I don't really care that much for the team. I feel like there's a lot of redundancies in that team, if in all honesty. Like, you have two guys in armor with Doom and Tony. You have Captain America. You have like two America superheroes with Miss America and Captain America. I know, it's different. One's a super soldier, one can like teleport, but whatever. You have Ant-Man and the Wasp. You have two Asgardians. It just feels like a lot of redundancies. They have announced that they're going to introduce Hawkeye into the team. It's going to be like a new version of Hawkeye, who I believe is Native American, who looks cool. But yeah, it hasn't exactly been the one that I've been jumping towards. I don't know. I don't like it when there's like too many redundancies in a team. Also, there's going to be a TVA book. It's whatever. It has Captain Carter in it because they keep trying to make her a thing. Also, Gambit's probably going to be in it. Owen Wilson's character from Loki might be in it. We got Ghost Spider, that one character, I forget what her name was, in Lady Loki. Sylvie, whatever. I don't really care for this. It obviously, like, this was announced by Kevin Feige and CB Cebulski. It obviously feels like, just Kevin Feige continuously just trying to be like, no, let's just make the Marvel Comics universe the MCU universe. Just why not? Why differentiate and give fans something different when we could just make it the same thing? Whatever. Shit. And moving forward, big news, SAG-AFTRA is going on strike against the video game industry. We're not going to consent to a contract that allows companies to abuse AI to the detriment of our members. Companies facing the strike include Activision, Disney, Insomniac, EA, Take-Two, Epic Games, and WB Games. And this is obviously, really going to impact the video game industry, mostly due to the fact, with voice work, shit like that. No, it's going to impact a lot of major games. And, some people have been showing their support in big ways. I feel like that's what I've mostly been seeing. Some people have just been, just discussing about it. I mean, like this right here. This isn't, the most disgusting thing. We're never going to get GTA 6. It's just kind of memeing about it. It is kind of, from what this commenter said, you mean the same SAG-AFTRA that partner with an AI company. Yeah, it is. That still sucks, but at the same time, this is, for the most part, a good thing. But we'll just have to see about that. I know Keemstar had a very, disgusting reaction to it. He was just like, oh, games are just gonna be shit. We're just having to deal with so many shit games. And it's like, Jesus, is that, the first thing you go to? It's just disgusting how some people have been talking about it, but at the end of the day, we'll see where this goes. They're currently on strike now. Whatever. Some games are going to get pushed back. I don't really care all that much. So yeah, we'll have to see where this goes onwards. And then moving over to another industry that kind of profits off its workers a little bit too much. We have the wrestling community, and there's been some drama going on over there. In terms of there's been some drama regarding the latest WWE 2K24 DLC, with it only comprising of Pat McAfee show members. So if you don't know much about WWE 2K and just wrestling games in general, usually when DLC comes out for these games, usually they either comprise of old wrestlers who just, maybe they weren't on a legacy contract with WWE, which means that they could use their likeness for the game, or just weren't in talks with the company to allow them to use them in their game. Usually that will be the case with the ECW pack that came out recently, a few months ago. It include people like Sandman, the Dudley Boys, CM Punk, or it will be wrestlers who came back or made their debut in WWE before this deadline for who or who couldn't be on the roster came out. As we'll see in a later DLC that will come out in a few months, with Jade Cargill, Nia Jax, Kairi Sane, Carlito, or it's usually NXT stars. People from NXT, which is their developmental brand, there to kind of build up young talent to get them ready for TV and eventually the main roster with Raw and SmackDown. That's usually what you expect with DLC. Now, in the past few years, there have been celebrity spots within, WWE 2K24 DLC with MGK and with this year Post Malone. But usually the reason why those two, people like those guys are included is because with both of those guys, they helped develop the soundtrack for those games. So usually they will just be given a character, as kind of a thanks, just shit like that. Also, it's a way for them to make money off it. But There's also people like Bad Bunny, who has had WWE matches, so it makes sense why he would be in there. And even Pat McAfee makes sense to be in a WWE 2K game because he has had matches before. He's had a match at WrestleMania. Hey, he's had 2 matches at WrestleManias. He's had a match at SummerSlam. He's been in a War Games match. Like, it makes sense for Pat McAfee to be in the game. The problem is that there is an entire DLC pack that is contributed to him and every single co-host on his show, with not one singular spot meant there for any other wrestler. Now there are other DLC packs where there are actual wrestlers in it, but people saw this as Pat McAfee and his boys taking up a spot that should have been meant for NXT superstars or maybe some older superstars who just weren't in the game. But here's what Ty Schmidt, one of his co-hosts, had to say on the matter when they were talking about the backlash that people were, when people were starting to talk about the DLC coming out, because I believe it's already come out like in this week or it'll come out next week. People were starting to talk about it because they did talk about it when like it first got revealed, because it got revealed like months ago. But now that it is coming up, people are starting to talk about it again. And they were talking about the backlash they were facing because of it. And this is what this guy had to say.
Right. So yeah, a lot of people are pissed, especially that D-Butch, Connor, myself, AJ are in it, because they want some of these other losers that no one's ever heard of from NXT to be in the game. Why aren't these guys in the DLC pack? Well, it's because no one wants to play with them. That's why. Okay, so
if people didn't want to play with them, this wouldn't be a issue at all. If people didn't want to play as NXT superstars, nobody would be complaining about this. But they are, because they don't fucking care about you. Like, that's the thing. It's not just like, these no names are, these random guys who aren't wrestlers are taking up the spot. It's also because, like, they don't want to, I have heard absolutely nobody be like, you know what? You know who I want to play as in a wrestling game? I want to play as Ty Schmidt or AJ Hawk. Like, it's so dumb. Like, you guys are just not wrestlers. Like, Pat makes sense because he's a commentator for WWE and has had wrestling matches before. You guys have done nothing. You guys have not had a single wrestling match. Now, I did kind of look into this guy, like, okay, maybe he has some background when it comes to just, athletics in general. But he's just a commentator. That's it. Like, I don't understand what the whole, like, yeah, these guys shouldn't be in the DLC. It's a waste of space. That's it. It's just so stupid. Also being like, oh, nobody wants to play with these NXT people. Yeah, they have. Yeah, they do. That's why this is a controversy. And also just completely shitting on these people who like bust their ass to try to get on TV and make a name for themselves, who, put their bodies on the line every single night. Like, it's such a disgusting way to talk about this.
At first it was like, man, should I be upset that these people, are pissed that we're in the game? No, absolutely not. Fuck them. That's kind of where I stand.
Like, this is just so dumb. It's just such a dumb way to go about it. Just be like, yeah, you guys shouldn't be in the game. Of course, people are going to complain when they want to actually play as wrestlers they see on TV, people that they see kind of develop in a way with NXT. They want to see be on the game they like to play. It's just so dumb. Imagine being like, hey, we're going to make this Marvel fighting game, and we're also going to play, and we're also going to put, like, Kevin Feige in it. And maybe, like, some people would like that. Or, like, they're just like, oh, we're just going to put, like, this random celebrity. We're going to put Eddie Murphy in the game. It's just like, why not just put, like, another Marvel character? Like, why put this guy who has literally nothing to do with WWE in the game? Why put all these people that have nothing to do with the WWE outside of the host of the show being a commentator for WWE? Like, what's the point? It's obvious that Pat was just like, trying to do a favor for his boys, which is admirable, but like, why would he think that any person would want to play as them? Like, it's cool. I feel, it would probably be cool for them, but like, nobody else cares. Like, so dumb. If it was like something else, if it was something entirely different, they were just like, hey, just for fun, You don't have to pay for it. We're going to put these guys in the game. It's not going to take any other space from our DLC pack. Nothing like that. It's just like a free update. Because who's going to spend money on this? Who's willingly going to spend money on this? It's just so dumb. Speaking of dumb things in wrestling, so this week, AEW had a Blood and Guts match on their show Dynamite. And if you don't know what a Blood and Guts match is, it's basically War Games, which is a elimination. It's a steel cage match with 2 rings where, a lot of violence ensues. And one of those acts of violence was this guy, Mark Briscoe, hitting another wrestler called Jack Perry with a chair. Right on the head. Now, there is a big history when it comes to chair shots in wrestling, especially chair shots to the head, especially with what we know now with CTE. It has basically been something that's something you cannot do anymore. Because you never know the risks that are going to go into it. You never know how badly injured someone could get from it. It's one of those things you just do not do under any circumstance. But in this circumstance, apparently the chair that Jack Perry was hit with was gimmicked. And if you don't know what gimmicked means, it basically means it was a gimmick chair is basically a chair that is made in a way to not impact the person as much. It's meant to give them like a more softer blow. It's still not great to, hit someone in the head with it, but it's better than a full-on chair shot. Still, though, it's not a smart idea, especially when you're in a match that you're already doing pretty brutal things in. It's just not a smart idea. And this led WWE commentator Corey Graves to make this. Now, the thing about the wrestling community, if you're not in it, especially like the online wrestling community, if you're not in it, if you don't take part in it, good. Keep away from it. It is one of the most toxic fan bases ever, and it really plays into a big part with the WWE versus AEW tribalism thing that not a lot of people play into, but there are definitely people who play into it in very toxic ways. But it especially ramps up when one person from one company makes a comment regarding the other. And this is kind of where this comes in when it comes to a lot of people talking about it in some ways. But this is WWE commentator Corey Graves speaking on the matter. This is not meant to sound judgmental or incite us versus them or question anybody's passion or talent or intentions. This is just coming from a guy whose career ended with a few too many accidental headshots. The art of this business is protecting ourselves and each other. Trust me, the gaps in memory are not worth it, I promise. Just making a blanket statement, just being like, hey, this isn't a smart thing to do. Don't do it. My career, because while he is a current commentator, he was a wrestler. He appeared on WWE a few times with NXT. And before his career ever really got going, he got injured and just had to retire because it was that bad. He became a commentator with WWE. He does commentary on their show SmackDown right now. And basically he's just saying like, hey, it's not worth doing the headshots. There's other cool things you can do. You should want to protect one another, even if it is a gimmick chair. But I think he didn't know that at the time. I think that's a big reason why he deleted this tweet. Also, the fact that there were a lot of people who were being absolutely disgusting about this. There was one person who I blocked when I was looking this up, who said that they were blocking people who didn't agree with They were blocking people who agreed with Corey Graves here, and it's just like, oh, so what? You're blocking people because they think, hey, it's not a good idea to just hit someone in the head with a steel chair. Even if it is gimmicked, that's still not like the smartest thing to do. It's just not the best. It's just not a good look the way that some people have been talking about this. For the most part, I feel like a lot of people have come out in agreement towards him. Most of the people right out of the gate, like a lot of people who were talking about it, were very much attacking him, and I feel like I'm pretty sure that's why he got rid of the post. more than likely, or it was him being like, oh, it was a gimmick chair, I'm just gonna delete it. But yeah, it's just like this is something that everyone should be able to get behind. Just be like, hey, we need to look out for one another. We need to protect one another. We shouldn't be doing stuff that could gravely injure someone else and possibly end their career, or just like, you know, give them like head trauma that would cause them to lose some of their memories or give them gaps in some of their memories. Like, it's just not a smart thing to do. But wrestling fans go to show that sometimes they're just big dumb idiots and are just like, no, I need to see these people that I love watching possibly end their careers for my entertainment. It's just so dumb. But yeah, I think that's all we're gonna talk about in terms of the episode of this podcast. Yeah, a lot's happened. A lot of news from San Diego Comic-Con, some dumb wrestling drama. Video games are now on strike with SAG AFTRA, and we'll just have to see where all this goes. When it comes to like this going forward, depending on how much news I plan on covering, shit like that. If I don't have a lot to cover, I'll probably start doing like some more special episodes, I guess you could call them, in a way. Like I'm thinking about like doing some like tier list episodes, shit like that. But yeah, that'll probably be it for this episode, and I'll see y'all next time.